How many exercise reps and sets for strength and stability? Welcome everybody, it's Jason Barlow, RMT, and I'm here today as your therapist and as your coach to help you transform any stress, tension, and pain into health, happiness, and vitality. This is an important question that I'm often asked, especially when I give out exercises or stretches to any of my patients is, well, how many am I supposed to do? Like, can I do too many? Is this, what's the goal with this? So I like to give them some clear information on what this actually looks like. The bottom line is this: in my 20 years in this career, I've given, probably thousands of patients and clients a variety of exercises and stretches to perform. I can honestly say I've never had anybody come back to me that has done too much or too many of them. Because very often we will do these exercises when we're in pain, because our motivation for getting out of pain is usually a lot higher, wouldn't you agree, than when you're actually experiencing pleasure. So as a result, I've never actually seen anybody overdo these exercises. Can you? Yeah, it's possible, but from my experience, I've never seen it where we've done too much. Now, how do you know if you're doing enough? Well, you're getting effects. If you see that your body alignment is improving, your muscles are feeling stronger, you feel like the joint's more stable, you feel and see that translate across then into your athletic pursuits or recreational activities, day-to-day functioning around your home and your family and your work, then there are the signs within of these exercises actually having power for you. Now, last week, I shared with you my step number 4 in my 15-step playbook for pain relief. And step number 4 was my first exercise that I recommend called the Superman. If you're unfamiliar with this or you didn't listen to last week's, jump back to last week's podcast episode or just go back to last week's video. And you'll see that I've given a description, and especially in the description field below, I've given you a website that you can go to. It's my website, but it's a specific website link that is within my book. You'll only find it either in my book or when I share it with you in this context. So this website address, this is important, is jasonbarlow.rmt.com/quick-teach me. Quick, little dash, teach me. And from there, you'll be able to access my top 3 exercises and my top 3 stretches. Now, within my book, I actually start to describe a little bit more depth of how many repetitions to perform and how long to hold them for if that's the case, depending upon the nature of the exercise. But to answer the question, how many reps and sets should we be doing for strength and stability? And there's 2 answers. The quick answer is as many as possible. Because if you think about what we're all typically doing throughout our day, and I talk about this in my book, we're usually adopting a certain posture where we're bending and rounding forward. Now, as a consequence of that posture, we're all accumulating what I class as postural debt. Now, just think of any financial debt that you may have or you've had in the past or you may in the future have. We accumulate debt when we're unable to pay it off quickly enough. And it's the same with this postural debt, this physical postural debt. And again, in my book, I talk about even mental debt, but I've spent quite a few weeks talking about that already. If you're intrigued by that, go back and reflect on some of those teachings I've shared with you. But here today, we're talking about postural debt from a physical standpoint. So depending upon how many hours each day you are seated, stood, moving, generally, if you think about it, your body flows or goes where your eyes are focused and directed. And so as a result, we are naturally beings that want to round forward. The challenge that we face is that we're just spending too much time. Again, in my book, I talk about the dose that makes the poison. That becomes the tipping point. It's the dose that makes the poison when it comes to any kind of postural debt, be it the mind, be it the body. How much time are you spending in said position? How much time are you drinking water? How much volume of water are you taking in? It's the dose that makes the poison, because even if you drink too much water, and water's good for you generally, wouldn't you agree? If you drink too much of it, though, it becomes negative for the body, it becomes toxic, becomes poisonous. There's too much edema, your digestive system lets you know, and you can't urinate frequently enough. It becomes problematic. And so we definitely have to take heed of what our body's actually trying to share with us. Now, my second answer to the question of how many reps and sets for strength and stability revolves around a formula that I've created. And it's based upon 20 years experience from different strength trainers I've learned from, my own personal experience as a therapist, as a trainer, and somebody who trains. Is we got to think about beyond just even strength and stability, right? Strength and stability is usually what I'm dealing with because people come in usually in pain. So I'm helping them to rebuild the strength and the stability of their body, which are the two most lacking elements very commonly when it comes to especially chronic type of pain in situations like that. So we have strength, we have power, we have endurance, we have stability, we have coordination. How many reps and sets should we be performing? It depends. It depends whether you're trying to achieve more strength or power or endurance or stability or coordination. And ideally, what do you think? In a good, well-rounded program, we should be getting all of those avenues. And if you think about the expression of human movement on a daily basis, and especially if we're an athlete of any kind, whether we're professional, recreational, weekend warrior, if you love to move and you're a skier and you're a hiker, these are the things that I love. Your basketball, if you're engaging in something that goes beyond just daily walking, then you definitely need to tap into each of those 5 elements: strength, stability, power, coordination, and endurance. So very quickly, and there's more information in the description to this video and podcast you're listening in. For strength, you want low repetitions, but you need a high load with a low speed. And do that 2 or 3 times a week with rest days in between so your body can heal. Now remember, with each of these, the most important thing, what do you think? What do you think the most important things when you're training toward any goal of strength, power, endurance, stability, and coordination is your form. Your form. This ties back into, again, what I talk about in my book, that postural awareness. Even if you don't do any of these exercises, you don't care about reps and sets, you're not going to do it. That's fine. But you must, if you're wanting to relieve stress, tension, and pain, you must start to pay attention to your posture. So your postural awareness is all about good positioning, good form. Now you translate that postural awareness into doing strength, power, endurance, stability, and coordination. So power is next. You want low to moderate repetitions, a moderate to high load weight, and you need a high speed. And you want to do that 2 to 3 times a week. Now, again, if this is new to you, if these terms are foreign to you, or you're just getting going into a workout, then I highly recommend to hire a trainer who has this understanding, this underpinning knowledge, has the experience. And I'll qualify this. When you go and seek out a trainer, make sure that they've already accomplished or are on the process of accomplishing what it is that you're trying to achieve. There's one thing that can be frustrating as a client and as a patient is that you're looking to somebody for advice, but yet they don't seem to be abiding and following that very advice themselves. They're, preaching to the choir. That's the right term that I'm using there. They're trying to, share something with you that they've not actually lived through themselves. They've either not had the experience, they've just read it in a book, but they're not living proof. And I remember Paul Chek years ago, one of my greatest mentors that I've had in this field, and he said, ideally, if you're going to seek out nutritional advice, ask that person to take off their shirt and then have a look at their bodies and determine if you want to take that nutritional advice from them. And the same goes with exercise or tissue relief or fill in the blanks. Whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, make sure the person that you're going to for advice and that health professional is actually following through themselves, because they can talk the talk, but they've got to be able to walk the walk. The next one, I'm going off tangent. The next one is endurance. For endurance, you want high reps, low to moderate load, low to moderate speed, and you could do that 3+ times a week. I know some people, they'll run every day of the week, and then every maybe 3 weeks, they'll take a day or 2 off. So endurance, you can get away with more frequency of doing that. Stability, you want higher repetitions, low to high load, so you can scale that intensity of stability exercises. You want low speed, you want an unstable surface, or some variation of maybe you're lifting with a single arm or you're squatting with a single leg. Now, again, caveat to that is follow some guidance. Have a trainer teach you those proper exercises. I'm sure you'll find a bunch of things on YouTube, but just go cautiously when you're starting to do things that are new to your body and that challenge you. And always remember, go back to rule number one of this is having good form consistently to doing it. But the idea of stability is to put your body into a space where it's unbalanced and you have to correct and realign and position. One of the tools I used for years, and I still do, just not as frequently as I did, is getting one of those large fitness balls, right? Those large inflatable balls are very good to balance on, sit on, lay back on, because that straight away is getting far more engagement of your stabilizers. And with that in mind, it's going to challenge you, and therefore you're going to improve. The last one is coordination. For coordination, when I have low to high repetitions, so it depends what you're trying to achieve, you could go with low repetitions and a high speed, or you can go with a high repetition range but a lower speed. The essence of coordination is getting your body working in synchrony, right? So a coordination exercise might be, as an example, an overhead squat. Now you've got to keep your arms fully extended with a load over your head, keep good form, get good extension into the spine while sitting just to the right amount of depth and keeping the knees in line. There's a lot of information that's traveling into the body with an overhead squat. So that's why you might, first time beginning with this, is you want to do definitely low load, low speed, and you could build on higher repetitions, but you might even start with low repetitions. So you just got to experiment and play. And this is where, again, a coach will help you to navigate that a bit more. But your coordination is all about developing what I like to call the cross-crawl type of patterns. You think about when you walk, it's opposite arm, opposite leg, swinging as pendulums, opposite arm with opposite leg. The Superman, which is step number 4 in my book, is a cross-crawl pattern that's developing the foundations for that mechanic of opposite arm, opposite leg. And those cross-crawl patterns are very often skipped for people who, as babies or becoming young toddlers, they have skipped the crawling and just gone straight to walking. And great, we're usually proud of our kids for skipping the crawling and going straight to that stage, but they're actually missing a critical movement pattern that very often later in life they may have to rehearse because they're getting spinal pain. Why? Because their body's not coordinated enough, and they go back then to having to crawl. Now, that being said, there's nothing wrong with that. I love to do crawling motions. I find it very therapeutic for my body. It's part of my daily work. I say daily workout. It's part of my regular workout. I like to do a Spider-Man crawl, and that really helps to then calibrate the body, improve my coordination, taxes my stability. If I do enough reps, it's endurance. If I do it fast, it gives me some power. And if I do it slow and controlled, it gives me strength from one exercise. So isn't that interesting? You don't have to be doing lots of different exercises. Just one can actually get into all of those elements that we're trying to achieve. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found that of benefit. Please go and get one of these quickly. It's coming off very soon. The 15-step playbook for pain relief is still available for free digital download if you go to my website, jasonbarlowrmt.com, and you can get an email from me where I will share the PDF and this book. You can print it out at home if you wish. If you want to get a physical copy like this, just go to Amazon, your respective country. Thank you for joining me. Tomorrow I'm going to be back with my book of the week, so join me for that. And remember, your muscle health is my #1 priority. Take care.